How's it going, everybody? My name is Austin, owner of Illianaheadstonecare, and today we're going to be cleaning this veteran marker. Now, I haven't really done a video with a basic tutorial of how to clean a headstone, so we're going to go everything that you need to use, what not to use, and how to go about cleaning a granite marker such as this. When it comes to doing headstone cleaning, always do your own research and make sure that you do no harm. Now, to start with, we'll go over our products. The only two products that I use are D2 biological solution and plain Dawn dish soap. Dish soap is more for the first treatment to get that heavy buildup and residue of the algae and staining and lichens off the very top of the stone. The D2 biological solution will work its way into the stone and pull those stains out and kill off any living bacteria or algae that is on the stone. This is the only product that's approved by the National Cemetery Association, and that's what all the professionals use. It is more expensive, but it's the highest quality product you can use and the safest to use on these headstones. Since I use a lot of this product, I often transfer it into a pump sprayer. That way I don't have to use the small squirt bottle for my cleanings. And this will go a pretty long way. Now, I didn't do it today, but a lot of times I'll start by treating the stone hours in advance before the cleaning begins, and it gives it time for the D2 to work its way into the stone and really get to work on those stains that are deep into the headstone itself. Now let's talk about our brushes. Now, I always go with the softest scrub brush as possible. This is a horsehair brush. This is the deck brush that I use for the initial cleaning at the very beginning. This helps break up all the things that are on the very top of the stone. This is a pretty soft bristle brush, and I use this as the intermediary. And when I'm done, I use the softest bristle brush I have, or the horsehair brush. This really helps just work the solution into a thick foam, and I can let it sit on there and continue to work before rinsing it off. Also have an array of different small scrub brushes that help me get in to the different areas of the etching, like the name or the design on the headstone itself. Also have some of these smaller ones that are good for working into the angles on the base of the headstone, right up in between where it meets the base and the foundation. Also have toothbrushes for really small areas, and wooden scrapers or plastic scrapers for that really big gunk that you can just scrape right off the top of the stone. Now, on a flat military marker like this, we don't have that ability today. So the first thing we're going to do before we do anything with treatment or with water or anything, we're just going to clean up some of the grass and make sure the stone is edged out nicely so that we don't have a bunch of mud and grass and everything getting into our brushes and making it harder to tell if we've got the headstone clean or not. Two things that I highly suggest having for headstone cleaning is a nice blower and a nice trimmer. This makes sure that there's no debris left on the stone when you go to clean. And on some headstones, the ground has worked its way over the foundation, and the weed trimmer will help you get some of that ground away from the edges of the foundation as well. One other thing I like to have is just a bucket full of water and a full-size pump sprayer. The bucket of water is just to rinse your brushes. You don't want to get the initial amount of dirt and scum off the top of it, and then use that same brush to continue and work all that dirt and stuff into the lettering. So what I'll do is I'll clean it once with one of my larger bristle brushes, rinse that off, and then clean it again. So to start with, I simply wet the entire headstone. What you don't want is a pump sprayer where the trigger sticks and will not shut off on you half the time. So for this tutorial, I'm just going to clean the left side first so you can see the before and after halfway through the process, and then I'll clean the other side. First things first, we're going to treat it with D2 biological solution. Wet our first brush. And basically what I'm doing is putting very little pressure and getting that algae and lichen all worked up with the bristles. See, I'm using one finger to move this brush. I'm not putting my entire force into it. You don't have to do that when you're using D2 because it breaks down everything so well that what you're really doing is clearing up everything as it breaks down. And as you can tell, that's got all that stuff turning green and red, and what that's doing is activating the D2, and it's killing off everything that's living on the stone. We're now going to take our medium bristle brush and just do small circles and continue to work out that algae. Now we're going to take one of our smaller brushes Make sure every brush is always wet before you start working. You don't want to use a dry brush on a headstone. And we're going to take the end and go through each one of the letters and each part of the design here. And then we'll come back through with our brush again and just go over the whole thing. And as I'm cleaning, I can see there's still a couple spots where that algae is sticking. So we'll just work on that area a little bit more. Now I am going to go back and do the whole thing, so it might not be perfect on this side all the way yet, but you'll see a major difference already. As you can tell, there's a few spots that could use just a little bit more attention. So while we clean this side, we'll just go over this side a little bit more. In the lettering, you can still see a little bit of that green algae, so it's just going to take a little bit more work. Go ahead and retreat the stone with D2. And we will repeat the process. Now, depending if you're working on a family's headstone, doing this as a career, or doing this to donate the cleanings for veteran headstones, what you could do at this point is move on to a different headstone, or just take a break and come back in a half an hour, and all this D2 will have continued to work those stains out and loosening up all those deep built-in algae and all the lettering. But for today, we're just going to scrub on it. It's not going to hurt anything. One thing you just have to be careful of is to not use anything like a wire brush or an acidic cleaner, such as like mean green or anything with chlorine with bleach in it. It's safest to just stay away from those. I know people left and right will say, well, just power wash the headstones, just use pool cleaner on it. I'm sure it cleans it, but if you come back in a couple years, I'm sure that headstone's not going to be the same. I have seen some cemeteries where they've cleaned areas of older headstones with bleach, and the stone itself becomes brittle, cracks, and flaky, and falls apart. So that's the last thing you would ever want to do to a headstone in a cemetery. You might erase that history forever. So you do want to be careful. Granite is extremely hard, and this would probably take a pressure washer just fine. I'm not going to risk that, because one thing that can happen is with that high pressure from a pressure washer, you can bust out the small circle lettering inside of where it's etched. If a stone's going to break, 99% of the time it's going to break around the lettering. So we're just going to be careful and make sure we do no harm, which is the #1 rule of headstone cleaning. Rinse our brush and add a little bit more water. All right, now we can give it a rinse and see how it looks. Appears as though we have a couple stubborn spots right at the top here. Then obviously once it dries, it will look substantially cleaner because you won't have those lines from the stone being wet. But we just need to add our flowers. All right, so when it dries all the way, I'll show you what it looks like. And then before we leave today, we're going to treat it one more time with D2. The cleaner will continue to work once we leave here today, and it will prevent future growth and also continue to kill off anything that was growing on the stone in the first place. If you like the video and you want to see more veteran headstones getting restored and cleaned up so they're legible and that history can be preserved, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. and it helps me keep doing this and keeps me motivated to keep cleaning more. Thank y'all, and God bless.